But I think it's about time to get started. Again, I'll introduce myself, Jason Barnes, Chief Operations Officer with Genesis Chiropractic Software. And today I'm really excited to bring a third-party software that we've integrated with. And before I even introduce Cleargage and why we're excited that they're joining us, no one would ever expect our technology software to do everything for them. And if they did, I just fear how disappointed you'd be if you were to use Genesis credit card processing or Genesis patient reminders, because those companies that single out a need for our practices and they focus on 100% just tend to do a great job. And today I'm really excited to introduce a company that we've partnered with named Cleargage, a leading financial services and technology company that really is going to help you with patient collections, patient financing, and a number of other features and benefits that they're going to offer, all within a single sign-on when you're using Genesis, so that you can focus more on your patients and less on those fringe outliers, those other priorities that absolutely need to get taken care of. And this software, this service, and this coaching is going to help you understand that and make that dream become a reality within your office. So today, to introduce our presenter, founder and principal architect of Cleargage, Chip Hunziker. And he's been in this business a little while. I don't know if any of you were on prior to us getting started. I had looked up a little bit more about this individual. He's been in this business for 30 years, and he really does understand healthcare as well. It's not just financial services that he gets. He's worked in companies where administered benefits and understands that process pretty well, understands the patient. So we've got healthcare, financial services, technology, and expert all rolled into one who really does understand employee benefits. So we're really looking forward to having somebody like this pair with us so that we can get a better understanding of how to implement financing with patients within our practices. So they've got thousands of physicians, and they're in all 50 states, and I'm really excited to introduce Chip. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Jason. We're about this, and we're really looking forward to doing some Cleargage. Our surrounded patient payments and making sure that patients have payment solutions available to them that are patient-friendly, that are ethical, that allow them to acquire the healthcare products or services that they need and to ensure that their providers get paid. So we really think that we are a key player in helping the ability for the business transaction of purchasing healthcare. So we're going to get started. I want to talk a little bit today of some of the topics, our service offering, what the integration touch points are on a high level. I'm going to talk about some strategies that you as providers in the chiropractic space really need to be adopting to be very efficient and to be successful and to thrive in the future. So how to adopt a retail approach to healthcare, how to get paid, and how to set up patient payment plans that are both ethical, legal, that ensure that you are getting your payments and that the patients themselves are covering some of the hidden costs associated with that. And then we're going to talk about why Cleargage is different. Now, throughout the presentation, please feel free to type in questions. Jason will be moderating at the end when we should have time for some questions. Understand if we don't get to answer your questions at the end, we certainly will respond. As Jason alludes to, we literally have thousands of chiropractic offices in all 50 states. We offer a robust suite of patient payment solutions. We do everything from your routine bread and butter merchant processing and ACH processing. We do what is very unique to us in the market is we do have a patient financing program where 100% of patients will qualify. We do recurring and subscription payment plans. These are great for wellness programs. Let's say you're packaging a chiropractic visit with maybe a massage on a monthly basis, and you're charging that on a subscription. We have the ability to do a care plan calculator where you can build out a treatment plan and provide your patient with payment options. We do online bill pay, and we also have an account on file process where you could, we'll talk about that. And the nice thing about this is it all automates and all payments post directly into Genesis. So it reduces your administration time. Just on a high level, when you click on more, you will see that Cleargage is an option. It's a single sign-on. What you'll see is the Cleargage software will pop up. And here you'll have your payment options that you can do. And obviously one of the key payments is a simple one-time payment transaction. You would click one time. You would, all of the patient data would be populated. You'd swipe the card, and then the payment is approved. You can print, but more importantly, you can email. No need to print a patient receipt to the person's email account. We accept all forms of the credit card payments, so all the 4 major credit cards, HSA, FSA, we do ACH, which is we also provide very so you can go into the system. So, and they want to return a particular product, or maybe there was an overcharge for some reason, and you wanted to do a partial refund, you can easily partially refund right to the payment vehicle that they provided you. And again, all of this is in the finance section within Genesis, so all the payments are easy to review and post. Once you click on the More button and you click on Cleargage, you can also set up subscription plans. Very, very simple. We do monthly, we can do weekly, so you can schedule the payment plans. You can generate a subscription agreement. This is okay, everyone. This should be better. Is it better now, Jason?
Yeah, hearing you loud and clear.
One of the things that we want to talk about is an account on file process. And this slide here I like to show people because it's clear that as patients come into and receive our care, when they leave and we're balance billing, it is the most expensive claim to be able to get paid on. And the longer that claim ages, the more expensive it is to collect because your staff is actually chasing the money. And studies show that the receivable itself, as it ages, tends to you have more and more bad debt. One of the things that we would recommend you do, and our system allows, is what we call account on file. Hotels, car rental companies, they've all done this for years, but now healthcare providers and chiropractors can do this themselves. And what is it? It is the ability for you to have your patient sign an authorization where you are storing their credit card on file. And similar to a hotel or credit card rental car company, you are providing services and with the expectation that there is going to be an insurance claim that is going to be generated, that there's likely to be a balance bill, and that the patient is giving you an authorization to charge the card. What it does, by you doing this and having this on file, and I'll show you how to do this, you take the claim process from where the patient comes in, they see the doc, they have a visit, they pay their copay, then your balance billing, and it could be 30 to 45 days before you get the remittance advice back, before you get the EOB back. Then all of a sudden you're mailing out paper statements and you're trying to capture them. Well, with this account on file process, what happens is you see the patient, you collect your copay, you bill the insurance company. As soon as that claim is adjudicated, our system would notify them with a text or email message, and the payment could be run automatically. So within our system, you would set up a patient. You would be able to store their credit card on file. You would set the limit, so you give the patient some protection to say, if it's $100 or less, we're going to charge your credit card. It generates a system agreement. The patient has all of the terms here. It masks their credit cards. They initial the terms and conditions, and you provide the service. What's important to note is the patient, it really is the patient's benefit. So your financial rights and responsibilities of all new patients going forward, and even your long-term patients, you should just introduce this program. It's increased convenience for them. You're not going to charge them for anything that hasn't been authorized by them. They've obviously received the product or service. You're only going to charge them after the claim is adjudicated. They don't have any paperwork. They don't have any checks to write. They don't have any postage. You could even set up a payment plan if the balance is going to be large. You're providing them with advance notice prior to the payment being run. And all of us who are card holders, all of us have zero liability, which means that if there is a charge that ever occurs on your credit card that you did not authorize, the credit card companies will reverse that charge. Now, in most cases, the patient knows you. They would call you up. They'd have some questions. But as a credit card holder, if there ever was a dispute, we know that charge would be reversed. I will tell you, we have thousands of healthcare providers. Very, very few times do we ever have a disputed credit card transaction between a healthcare provider and a patient over something that was not received. The other thing is the patient can get their rewards. So by putting this program in place and having every one of your new patients and every one of your existing patients, by you just explaining, we're going to store your credit card on file, it's PCI compliant, it's HIPAA compliant, we're going to provide you with the products or services that you need. As a courtesy, we're going to balance bill your insurance company, but with the understanding that when the claim comes back, we're going to provide you reasonable notice, but we're going to charge your card without having the cost of billing you. It's a program that's really going to allow you to effectively and efficiently collect balances. I want to talk a little bit now about patient financing and patient payments. The number one reason why people today are struggling to pay their bills or they're foregoing your care is clearly the lack of finance options. It's no surprise. Deductibles are going through the roof. The Affordable Care Act deductibles, we all know, and I love this because I read all the articles in American Chiropractor and Chiro Economics. It's so funny when you hear all these arguments of, are you going to be a cash-based practice or you're an insurance business? The reality is healthcare for most practices and for most patients is a cash-based business. This is why you have to adopt a retail approach to healthcare. No secret, the higher the deductible, the higher the coinsurance, the harder it is for people to pay. And in chiropractic care, studies show that the number one thing that drives a patient's compliance to your care plan is financing and the cost of treatment. And studies show that if you can make their care affordable, your patients will receive more care and they'll have better outcomes. And here's a simple slide I like to talk to people about, because one of the things I always talk about is chiropractic care works too well in most instances. So what do I mean by that? Well, people have a physical pain scale. They have a wallet pain scale when they come to see you. When their physical pain scale is high, they will do anything they will be compliant, they'll show up because they are motivated to get the pain reduced. But as patients come in, what happens is in a matter of visits, their pain scale drops dramatically. This is the acute phase of your care plan. So what happens is we get them out of acute care pain. Their pain is gone, but by you charging them every time they come see you, what happens is their wallet pain increases. And at some point there's a fracture where they don't associate a trip to your office with pain relief, they associate it with wallet pain. And what we try to teach our providers is handle the objection of how am I going to pay for this up front. If you wait for your patients to ask you about payment options, in many cases it's too late. So the number one thing that we can do is offer patient payment plans. So one of the things I want to ask, we don't have the ability to do a poll here, but I want to just ask these questions, and if you would type in the answers, maybe run a follow-up email Jason can maybe send out. But one of the questions I have is, if you as a provider who are providing patient payment plans, right, in most cases you're incurring the costs, and I'll talk about that. But do you agree with this statement in general, that consumers should cover the costs of financing, not providers? So if you want to type in your answer, either agree, somewhat agree, or don't agree. Because in healthcare go ahead.
A few people have typed in some answers already because they read your question, but I should note that a number of people, Dr. Rick, Dr. Kyle, and a couple other people who have usernames that I find somewhat amusing, everybody who's on, I have said all patients are cash patients. Laugh out loud, I've been saying this for years, every patient's a cash patient. So we did get a couple of those comments as well. So you have garnered some support in that particular area, Chip.
Well, thank you.
I thought I would let you know that.
So one of the things that if you think about the industry, right, tell me another industry that you know of that routinely provides its consumers with free financing. Healthcare is notorious, and it's because we're all nurturers. You're all nurturers. That's what made you go into chiropractic care. But the reality is it's not you who should bear those burdens. And what are those burdens? What are the hidden costs of financing? So first of all, it's the cost of administration. So my mother used to have the saying, no good deed goes unpunished. Here you are, you're helping someone out, you're providing a product or service, you're helping them, and now you're going to, and they need the ability to pay you over time, you're willing to do it, but now you're burdened with having to collect the money. And then when your staff has to call the person up to make a collection call because they didn't honor their payment agreement, they look at you as someone who's a villain, when in fact you've done nothing but a good deed to begin with. You incur bad debt. There's absolutely no doubt about it. There's bad debt. And then you have the costs associated with the time value of money. Again, the longer it takes you to get paid, the more risk and the lower the time value of money. So I want to talk a little bit about this. Most of our patients who are coming in, we have no idea whether they're going to have good credit scores or not credit scores. And here we are providing, in often cases, maybe $2,000, $3,000 worth of services, and we're setting them up in a payment plan, and we don't even know who these people are. And there's absolutely no reason why, by law, you are legally allowed to do a credit check on all of your patients. Cleargage, just to let you know, provides you with the ability to do a real-time credit check that does not affect their FICO score. So with their approval, you're doing a credit score, you're able to get an idea on what their credit worthiness is. The other thing is bad debts. And we tell people all of the time, if you're setting up patient payment plans, make sure that you're getting some form of down payment. Down payments minimize your risk, and it shortens the term. And if your patients cannot even afford a 10, 15, 20% down payment, they're telling you a signal right there. The chance that they would be able to afford to pay you over time, they're letting you know that it is going to be very, very difficult, very high risk. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the time value of money. I love this slide. I came across this when I was doing my Google search looking for a slide on time value of money. This is a nice problem to have, right? Wouldn't we like to have this decision? Do I won $425 million Powerball? Do I take my payments in 20 equal payments over 20 years, or for a 45% discount, do I cash out? And most people would say, I'm going to cash out. And let me tell you, here's a case example of why this is what you should do within healthcare. So let's say you have a patient treatment plan of $2,500. And most healthcare practices would offer some type of prepaid discount. Let's say this is a weight loss program, and you're doing a 20% discount. That is if the person pays you up front. But let's say the patient can't afford that, but they can afford a 20% down payment. And again, 20% is a good starting point in terms of getting a down payment. Let's say the patient wants to pay over 12 months, and you're going to charge them a service fee. Well, what you can see here is that you're giving the patient a choice. Pay me $2,000, receive a $500 discount, or pay $500 and pay roughly $180-something a month. What would you rather do? And in most cases, what could you do? Most patients will have an inability to be able to take the $200, the $500 discount, but they will likely be able to pay a $500 down payment and make monthly payments. So what is the cash flow impact? So today, with Cleargage, you would have a choice to either get a lump sum payment up front, where you get paid by a lender $2,000, which is roughly what you would have collected if the patient did a prepay, or you can wait 12 months and collect roughly $2,237. And I want to show you what the revenue looks like to your business. Here would be a lump sum payment paid to you in 10 days, or here's what the patient's paying you over time. Now, the value of getting paid up front is if the patient defaults in month 4, month 5, month 6, month 7, you got your lump sum payment. So essentially, you're collecting in 10 days what you would hope to get in 10 months. Now, chances are, if the patient makes the 11th payment and the 12th payment, you collect more money. But the reality is you've waited a long time to collect that money, and you've had risk. One of the things you need to look about is, if I gave you $2,000 today, and you put that to work in your practice, Google AdWords, website overhaul, maybe you did an investment in a weight loss nutritional program, decompression, whatever that you want to do to make your practice more successful, you're getting a lump sum payment. That lump sum payment today is worth, if you had a 15% return, and by the way, the stock market last year did 12%, if you did a 15% return, getting $19.90 today is really worth $21.35 over 12 months. So the lump sum, getting the lump sum payment, the reason that guy chose $235 million, he got a lump sum payment that he could really do a lot more with than if he got 20 equal payments. And if your business is as such, then you should get the lump sum payment and put it to work to you. So again, We don't have the ability to do a survey, but if you can type in the answers, and Jason, maybe we'll wait a minute or so. In this scenario, if you had a patient coming in and they needed $2,500 worth of care, you would have a choice. You could get paid $1,990 by a third party, non-recourse, no risk, paid in 10 days, or you could, which will turn out to be, if you work it, put it into your business, roughly $2,135, or would you rather collect $185 a month and take a longer position? You're ultimately going to get paid more, but you're going to wait a longer time. And I want to just get people's perspective, Jason, if they're answering on whether they'd rather take the cash up front or they'd rather wait. So if you want to answer up front or wait, that would be interesting.
Yeah, well, the answers on the first one were, all cash out. I mean, unanimously cash out.
And so let's talk about finance options. These are things that you can do within your practice, whether you use Cleargage or not. So first of all, a lot of people ask us, well, what about Care Credit? I use Care Credit. How are you different than Care Credit? First of all, we don't think of ourselves as competition to Care Credit. We actually consider ourselves augmenting Care Credit. Care Credit is a third-party credit vehicle where the patient and a bank enter into a payment agreement. They get a credit card. That credit card, in theory, is used to pay you, although it could be used to pay any Care Credit provider. So it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to spend that money with you, but you have the ability to get paid up front. There's other choices, which are in-house payment plans, and this is, a lot of people call that an auto debit system, and that's where you're setting them up on recurring payments. And then what we think we have is the best of both worlds, where we combine the benefits of Care Credit and we allow you to do in-house payment plans, all within one lending platform that can be tailor-made to your practice and your needs. So the problem with third-party financing companies, and everyone says this to us all the time, I use Care Credit, but they only work 30% of the time or 40% of the time, or I have patients getting declined all the time. So if you use third-party financing, what has the person told you? They told you they want your product or service. They told you that they want to pay for it in monthly payments, and they're motivated. What happens? You go to Care Credit and only to find out that person has been declined. With our program, 100% of those patients would get approved, and you would have the option to get paid up front. In-house payment plans are great. With Cleargage, you have the ability to administer your own payment plans. You have the ability to get paid upfront, or you have the ability to get paid over time. It's up to you, and you can choose that on a patient-by-patient basis. So the problem with in-house payment plans is you're having the cost to administer it. You're having the time value of money. So why is Cleargage different? First of all, we do a soft credit check, which is called a risk view. It has zero impact to your patient's FICO score. So by doing this credit check, we're able to verify their identity, we're able to get their propensity or ability to pay, and it does not affect their credit score. 100% of the patients will qualify. You can get paid up front. So on a patient-by-patient basis, you can choose, I want to get paid up front, or on this patient, because it's a 3-month payment plan, I don't mind waiting 3 months to get my money, but I do mind waiting 12 months to get my money. The shorter in finance, more is always better than less, and sooner is always better than later. If you take away nothing from that, it's that saying, more is better than less, and sooner is better than later. You can self-administer your own program, or you can have Cleargage do it for free, and I'll explain how that works. You set and earn the fees. Interest is paid by the patient, or service fees are paid by the patient to you, not the lender, not a finance company. You as the healthcare provider have the choice to collect your interest or free. So we have a care plan calculator. You can easily access this with 2 clicks from Genesis. We have the ability to have a custom treatment plans that we build out. We have the ability to put together a fee schedule so you have insurance, your list amount, your allowed amount. If you work with Chiro Health USA, we can support Chiro Health USA's fee schedule. We can accommodate all that. You can build out an encounter. You can give the person an estimate of what your patient is going to owe. Patients can consent to a risk view credit score, and then all of a sudden, our software will immediately pull back the patient's credit score. We grade them from A to F, with A being the most creditworthy. We have the ability to offer, this provider has said, I'm offering this person a 20% prepay. So you're giving them a choice to get paid up, to pay you up front, get a discount. If the person chooses to do this, you're happy with 80% of your list price because you're getting paid up front. Now this provider, we go as far as 36 months, but this provider has chosen to limit the promotions that they're going to offer. They're only going to offer up to 12 months. In this case, they're offering a 3-month same as cash. So if you take the prepay, no problem. The patient says they can't prepay. Well, if you pay me over 3 months, we charge 0 interest. If the patient pays over 6 months, it could be 3%, 9 months, 9%, 12 months, 9%. So what this provider is doing is giving this person payment options. They're giving them the choice, multiple choices to say yes. If the person chooses a 9-month plan, you can see here that from the provider's perspective, you don't care. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is this provider is getting 82% of their money paid up front, not by the patient, but by the lender. So the risk-adjusted payouts. With Cleargage, again, we take everyone from A to F. And depending upon the term and depending upon their credit score, you would get guaranteed payment up front. But obviously, folks, someone who's an A credit person, Care Credit will accept them. But they won't accept anyone that's a B, C, D, E, or F. We will accept people that are E's or F's. But obviously, if someone who has a bankruptcy, someone who is going through a divorce, someone who has really poor credit, we obviously can't pay you as much as someone who has A or B credit. So it's all about payment options, care plan calculator. We're giving them different payment options, summary of costs, and here is what a plan would look like to the patient. So the patient is financing $1,760. They're paying roughly $73 in interest. That's your money. You can choose to offer them 0 interest. I don't know why you would, but you can choose today. Most of your auto debit programs don't allow you to charge interest, which means you're providing free finance. That cost is out of your pocket. If you look at by just charging a low APR, which is lower than the cost of most credit cards, you're going to cover your cost of administering it. You're going to cover your cost of bad debt, and you're going to get paid a lot more money. Our system generates a compliant binding agreement. The person initials it and signs it, and then you can choose to get paid up front. Now, the last thing before we open it up to questions is the last option that Cleargage gives you, and a lot of our clients come on to us looking for this, is if you have a payment plan, a portfolio of payment plans where you're the bank, at any given time, At any given time, you could choose to sell this and receive a lump sum payment. So let's say you had 30 patients, 40 patients, all on payment plans, and you were going to collect $70,000, but you were going to wait all of these months. Some you were waiting just a few months, others you were going to wait a long time to collect your money. With just a click of a button within our system, you can get what would be a cash payout for all of your money. So even if you chose to set people up in payment plans and not get paid up front, you can always, with just a click of a button, sell a portfolio and get a lump sum of $50,000, $70,000, $80,000. So I'm just going to leave this on. Jason, we can open it up for questions. But again, if people would like to speak with us and would like to speak with us about particular products or services, they can type in, in your answer thing, what product or service they're interested in. And, here is a way to call or contact us. So I'm available for questions.
Gotcha. And in just a moment here, I'm going to take over and show everybody who's on the call. If you want to, if you're using Genesis right now and you want to use this, we've got the App Store. I'll show you how to access it, where you can click a button, subscribe, and it will, put something out there that will have one of our team members reach out to you. So we can do that as well. The first question I've got, do you mind if I throw one at you right now, Chip?
No, great.
The cash out that you were just talking about intrigued two people, and they basically asked the same question here, is cashing out for services that aren't rendered. I can speak to the first portion of this is, guys, if you take money for services that aren't rendered, it's a problem. You're going to have to give that particular money back. So you can, if you take prepayments from a patient and you end up not rendering those services, you have to keep that. But again, Genesis has the ability to tell you, which visits haven't happened yet, so you can, and the value of those, so you can give that money back. And the follow-up to that, question that they're asking is, is there a report that they can run for the things that they've cashed out on, Chip, that will tell them which it's for?
Yes, so it's a great question. So let me answer the first one because this is very important, especially states like Florida where you have to put money into a trust account and you can't charge prepays and patients for services not rendered or for treatment plans in advance. If you think about the way the program works, you're setting up a patient in a $2,500 payment plan. They're going to pay you over 12 months. You're going to deliver that product and service in 6 to 8 weeks in most cases. The lender is advancing you the money. At no time does the patient prepay an amount greater than what their care should be within a month, right? So think about it. You're setting up the patient on a $2,500 payment plan. That patient, let's say, chooses to pay you $200 a month. The lender, a third-party person, is advancing you the money, not the patient. So those consumer protection laws do not apply because the lender is a knowledgeable third party. So they're a business entity. They're not protected. But here's what happens. If you do a $2,500 treatment plan, and the lender fronts you, let's say, $2,000 up front, and the patient ends up quitting and not receiving all of the care, well, then you do have to give, Jason answered it in terms of the patient, but the lender would expect a refund as well on the pro rata share of what was not delivered. There's no penalties, no interest on the money that they advanced you that you did not earn, but you do have to give it back because it's only fair. You didn't deliver the care. But again, as it relates to prepays and state laws, you're not charging the patients. And by the way, your agreement with the patient allows them to quit at any time, because by law you can't obligate a patient to receive care. If for whatever reasons they decide to quit, you can't hold them to that contract. It's unenforceable. So, but we work with that all the time. There's no reason why you couldn't get prepaid from the lender. So I hope that answers the question. There are complete reportings on this within the system, so you would be able to see that. And within Genesis, the way we would, if you're charging interest, you would be able to, let's say on a $1,000 treatment plan, you decide to charge the patient a 10% interest. And so they're going to pay you over 12 months. So you would get $100 in interest on that particular case. When we post into Genesis, the payment would show up. 100% of the payment would be allocated to the treatment plan, and then the interest would be offset by a debit and a credit. Long story short is all of the reporting is accounted for in both Genesis and Cleargage.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Chip, is we actually have a very specific and separate interest payment tracking device within our accounting system. So you can easily see on any sort of patient account, everybody, what payments were interest on the account and what payments were the actual payment for service. So you can run all those reports on a macro level and a micro level within Genesis. So, okay, next question. I'm sorry, I did ask them in chat if that answered their questions, Chip, and they said it did. So thank you for that. Next question was actually, I think it's a great question. For a lot of new practice owners, we don't know what a good rate for credit card merchant services is. How do we know what a good rate is? Everybody says they're the best. That's a good point. What it really depends upon is the type of transactions that you're occurring and whether you're doing retail, point of sale, or not. But the best way to look at that is we would do a side-by-side analysis. On average, we save people 15% or more on their merchant services. Cleargage, we offer merchant services because for our payment plans, our recurring payments, and our patient financing, and all of our online bill pay, all of that needs to process through the merchant processing, but the merchant account fees are the smallest part of our revenue. So our rates are extremely aggressive because what we're really looking for you to utilize is the value-added technology. So literally for the merchant account processing, we're probably the most competitive out there. I would look to get more along the lines of interchange plus pricing, but it really depends upon the usage of the payments that you're doing. So American Express is the most pricey. I would not recommend healthcare providers in general taking American Express. And the other thing is if you're doing recurring payments, I would definitely look to get an ACH account, because processing someone on monthly payments using their checking or savings account is far cheaper than their credit card. So that's some advice. Got it. All right. And again, it's always a lot to wrap your head around, right? It's never a simple answer, and I wish it was. But I'm wondering, let's see. Yep. No, they said it was very helpful. Perfect. And then I only have one other question here, Chip, that's outstanding, and that's basically, okay, what's the integration like here? And so if anyone here already has merchant services, with any of the other ones that we have set up, it's, accessible through the schedule, through the patient account. You're able to click on the run card. I'm assuming, you guys are able to use the card swiper just like everyone else is. But more importantly, guys, if you're swiping cards, That's not the most efficient. Most of your patients are coming back for reoccurring visits. And what Chip talked about here, I know there's a lot of information here, was storing the card on file. It's PCI compliant, meaning they've done everything that they need to make sure that you're following the law for storing credit card information without having to do anything other than signing up with this type of merchant, so that when the patient comes in, even if they want to be pay as they go, you guys are simply going to their account and hitting a button, as opposed to having the patient endure the pain and agony of opening up their wallet and giving you the card. So that is always the best practice, is to get the card on file, but yes, you can swipe a card. Anything you want to add to that, Chip?
No, I don't. No.
Okay, perfect. Well, that was all the questions that we had. Unless somebody's got another question or two that they'd like to throw out there, we'd be happy to answer them and make sure that everyone knows. And other than that, Chip, I'm going to steal it from you for a second and just show people where to go. Let's see here, hit share, and we're going to share my desktop. And for everyone who's seeing this, there's a quick view of the Genesis system here. This App Store is what you're going to want to click on. And you guys are going to see the apps here. You'll click on the Cleargage one, and it'll bring you up into what Cleargage has to offer, and you're allowed to hit the subscribe button. To read more, we'll give you a better subscription of it, but that will help you guys reach out to us and get going on getting up and running. So that is how you're going to get to it, and take a look at any of the other apps that we've got out there for you, because there's something new and exciting that we've been putting out there for the last 6 months. So, all right. Well, Chip, I'd like to thank you for spending the last 50 minutes with us, and I hope everyone that came today found it super useful. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
All right. Goodbye, guys.